Alrighty, we're going to get started here. I'm Drew Nichols here with LTC Tree, here with cousin slash biz partner Derek, and we're going to have a little discussion today on a slideshow we found.
Yeah. Hey, Drew, how's it going?
It's going good. I've been waiting for this since you showed me this email the other day. You forwarded me this old presentation you've got.
Yeah, I know it was definitely a blast from the past. It was for those people watching out there. I've been in the industry since 1999, and it was an annuity presentation we would give to clients at seminars, at restaurants or hotels. We have 100 people show up, and we kind of go over this concept before technology kind of caught up to where we can do it this way. But it was interesting. We're looking at it, but like, man, this stuff has been really consistent, and not much has changed. It's a good product then, it's a good product now. So we'll go over the details.
That was a big thing. Is like, so you sent me this as like a sales idea, and I was like, wow, this is pretty retro. We should make a YouTube video, almost making fun of the clip art and stuff, but also, like you said, kind of balancing. Hey, the concept has remained exactly the same. The perception of annuities has changed over the years, good, bad. So a lot of people say it's really good right now.
Yeah, and they were really good. They were really bad a few years ago, and that was kind of the thought going around is annuities aren't really good. And they were true. I mean, they weren't really good at that point because these are really the lifeblood of this is the Fed funds rate. And if you think back to the financial crisis in 2008, Feds kept interest rates low for 15 years.
Yeah.
So there just wasn't enough gas or fuel in there to make the annuities really good. But now what we're seeing right now, they're as good as they've ever been. And
I think this is a casual and unrehearsed, almost like a podcast style.
Yeah.
So before we get into the slideshow, you got to explain all the balloons in the background because people are going to be curious what in the world's going on there.
Oh yeah, I know. I debated taking them down, but then I was like, we don't have time. We need to get into this. But yeah, no, my wife is pregnant, and we had the gender reveal on Saturday. We're having a girl, yes.
So you had the recycled blue balloons you don't even need, but you put those up anyway. Is that right?
Yeah, well, that was beforehand. So it was
it's like it could be either one. I got you.
It could be either one, and then we did the little thing, and So anyway,
well, I already told you, but I'll tell you again on video. Congratulations on your girl.
Oh, yeah, thanks. I'm pumped. Yeah. So
all right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull up. I think I'm going to do this right. I'm going to pull up the slideshow. And again, this was created in what year? Let's set this thing up.
I want to say maybe the year 99, 2000, somewhere in there. It's kind of funny though. It looks, but like the concept we were going over, I was like, man, this stuff is still really good as far as helping people understand how it works. Because a lot of people, they hear the word annuity and they don't have no clue what it is.
Yeah, so they just hear, I mean, there's been several prominent investment houses out there that we respect who are like the anti-annuity. And that was very smart marketing and very good advice for a long time. But yeah, I mean, before we just make fun of it the whole time, the clip art's silly, but like you say, the concept itself, we thought had a lot of value to go through. So, the money doctor.
The money. Yeah, but just the title of this slide is like protecting your assets in uncertain times. I mean, what could be more uncertain than we've had the past 3.5 years? We had the Ukraine war, hyperinflation, inflation like we haven't seen since the 1970s, incomes falling. So you have inflation going up, incomes decreasing, and people have really lost a lot of purchasing power. And then I think it was 2022, the stock market was down maybe 25, 30%. That really shocked a lot of people. And it's kind of come up the past few years, but yeah, that's kind of the, annuities, in my opinion, it's not for more than 10 to 20% of your assets, but for a portion of your assets, they make a lot of sense because it gives you guarantees for the what ifs. And
I mean, let's frame up who our target market is here too. We are creating this not for someone necessarily who's 20 years old or even 30. It's more someone in there. I would say, you tell me. I'm gonna guess the number. What's in your head?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably 45 to 70. That's kind of the sweet spot. And I guess if you're 70 and you're in really good health, then maybe you might have 20-year. You want to have like 20 to 20-year time horizon. So there's a lot of 70-year-olds who might live to be 100. So it might be appropriate for them too. But generally speaking, is, as you age, you want to have less of your assets in variable products like the market and more assets with in fixed products. So it's kind of the rule of 100. I think there's a slide in there. If you're 65, you want to have about 65% of your assets in guaranteed products like bonds, CDs, in this case, fixed annuities, and only 35% of your money in variable assets. So it's called the rule of 100.
Yeah, and I know we're going to jump into the next slide here soon, but just on the uncertainty thing, I've kind of come around to the idea of this where there's, that downside protection that we'll talk about, because we've been on like a bull run that's ended with this like inflation situation. There's a lot of possible outcomes in the market moving forward. And so if you're invested fully in variable products like the stock market, we're huge fans of the stock market, both of us are. I mean, we love it. But if you've got a lot of money in there, you need to have some of it on the side. So let's go to the next slide and see what we're looking at here. Okay. What types of people are attracted to annuities? People that are tired of losing money. Who's not?
Yeah. And then annuities also, another aspect is you can grow your money lump sum, and then just like any investment, and take the money, move it to Fidelity, move it wherever you want. You're not required to annuitize. That's kind of when a lot of people think of annuities, they think of annuitization, where you're giving the insurance company money and you're never going to get the principal back. That's not what we're talking about. These are all, you always have control of your lump sum, but they're also set up to where if you do want a lifetime income stream, and where you're paid monthly payments for the rest of your life, you can do that with annuities. So, I have some clients who have moms, grandparents who lived in their 90s, even over 100. If you have longevity in your family, you might want a guaranteed income for life, and that's what annuities can help you achieve.
Yeah, and it's kind of like all of the above. It's not a bad idea to have a little bit of income, a little bit of growth, even stuff in the stock market. Keep things with your financial advisor or DIY, however you're doing it. But the income is pretty cool, and we're not going to cover a lot of that today, but we've got some other videos upcoming on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just kind of looking through this slide. Tired of losing money, want to reduce your taxes and protect what you have left without worrying about it dropping.
Yeah, and just before we move on to this one real quick, the taxes, a lot of people, they don't realize that annuities, they grow tax deferred. So obviously, if your money's in an IRA, it's already growing tax deferred anyway. But you can set up an annuity to be a qualified, which is a tax deferred account. But it also, you can tax defer non-qualified money, just cash. So you're getting interest on top of interest, and you don't pay taxes until you begin to take the money out.
Yeah, that's so huge, especially in concert with all the other advantages. But that tax-free growth is pretty amazing. Okay, this is a newer slide. So we actually registered Annuity Facts. I was looking over the weekend in 2004. So this is a project that has been 20 years in the making here.
I remember when I registered it, but it was the issue was like right around 2004. That's when interest rates started dipping. They've just been, anyway, they haven't been great for, I can't believe, 20 years. So, but yeah, that's, we're LTC Tree. We began our main company helping people plan for long-term care, but annuities and long-term care and retirement, they kind of go hand in hand. And that's why we're developing this site to educate people on annuities.
I mean, we both have the econ background, so we were like kind of natural fits for where we've ended up here 25 years later. One interesting thing though is you're University of Georgia, I'm Clemson. A lot of people don't realize this, but in the South, everybody knows college football is big in the South. Georgia and Clemson are actually like the closest rivals to each other geographically. Like Georgia Tech is further away than Clemson is from Georgia.
Yeah,
if we weren't family, we probably couldn't do business together.
That's true, and I believe we're actually, Georgia and Clemson are playing like the first game of the year this year. I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I think end of August. That's the first game. So
man, our whole fan base is just going to lose it when they get crushed in the first game to Georgia. You never know, though.
You never know. Yeah, Clemson's had a good program the past 10 years. But yeah, so I got in the industry right out of college. I've been doing this for a quarter century. Can't believe it. But yeah, it really kind of cut my teeth in the long-term care insurance planning world, moved into retirement, helped invest people, have a securities license for years, but then we kind of moved back to kind of just retirement planning in general. And Drew, well, you joined in like, I think 2007.
Yeah. First of all, I'm way younger than Derek is, as you can tell.
Yes, yeah.
Not really,
Gray
actually, it's kind
hair,
of,
yeah.
but yeah, I started more in the tech and the web and all that kind of side of things. I'm the de facto CF or CTO and AI boss and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's our background. Still got the spin factor there.
Hilarious. Yeah.
All right, but we're going back to the retro slides. So that explains the color scheme and stuff. I love it though.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this.
Yeah, there's going to be when financial planning, we'll get into them, but there's seven, big kind of picture. You got inflation, you got taxes, you got probate, to name a few. Those are big financial dangers that your portfolio will face, whether you like it or not. And if you kind of see where the puck is going, as Wayne Gretzky would say, you can avoid a lot of these hurdles, and your kids and can avoid them too if you plan ahead. So we'll kind of go over a few of those. And then there's some secrets that the Wall Street,
Wall Street
your
secrets.
financial advisor, most advisors you got your money with, they're perma bulls. They think the market's going to go on forever, which is, it probably will. But it's also, is it going to be going up when you need to get your money? So imagine if you had to get your money when I think the NASDAQ was down 40% in 2022, and say that's when you need to get the money. You have to sell low on a 40% down market. So
Yeah.
there is a compromise in between. We'll go over that.
Yeah. No, especially if you're in your, like, I know we said 45, 50. Once you get past 50, a big market tank could be like catastrophic to a lot of these of our clients out there. So we're going to talk about how to mathematically design your portfolio so you never run out of money and never lose money. That is possible with these things, and there are some cons, and we're going to talk about those too.
Yeah. So, what our guarantee is, after you learn about annuities and really understand how they work and the downside of them, like you said, and then the guarantees that they can provide.
Yeah.
Most people are going to be compelled to maybe not 30%, but maybe 5-10% of your money. You might want to allocate them towards an annuity. And if you do, we're a broker. We work with all these companies. We'll help you shop the market and get the best, absolute best, whether it's a fixed annuity, you want a fixed interest rate, or one of the equity index annuities that are linked to the market.
Yeah. We've got access to all those types of products, and we'll help you navigate which one makes sense for you. Because it's definitely not, we're not, like you said, say perma bulls on the market like the financial advisors. We're not so bullish on one type of annuity that we think that's the only one that everybody should buy. It's really customized. And I wish it was easier than that, but it is very dependent upon somebody's situation. So we're going to put a link below this in the show notes on how to get in touch with us, get just a quick consult on our calendar. Even if you just want to spend 5 minutes brainstorming an idea, 15 minutes, whatever, we're here.
And people, if you spend as much time watching the video, you watch the rest. I mean, it's, take action. The way to avoid a crisis down the road is take action. Whether you at least, contact us, you can fill in the form, call us. And it doesn't mean you got to do business with us, but at least have a conversation so hey, is this right for me or is it not right for me? But at least have the conversation so you can leave no stone unturned.
Yeah, and I just got to comment again, this thing is retro. It's 25 years old or 20 years old, whatever. This thing is burning my eyes, so I'm going to move the slide.
You get that red off, yeah.
Oh, that's much better.
You got the nice sunny. It's a sunny day, but let me guess. I think we're going to see some dark clouds coming from when you hit the space button. Taxes.
Yep. So we're going to go through these.
Yeah.
Probate, lawsuits.
Yeah.
Hopefully lawsuits is not an issue for most of our clients, but probate, a lot of us are going to have to deal with. This one's covered up by my video, catastrophic illness. That's something having our long-term care backgrounds. We hear about that every day.
Yeah. And you can use annuities to plan for long-term care.
Yeah. Yep. Upside down planning. Okay. That one's a new one to me. What does that mean?
That's going to mean having, like, I think it's a pyramid where you have the top of the pyramid is that's your percentage of assets in fixed guarantees like CDs and annuities. Um, but as you age, you want to have a bigger and bigger portion of your assets to be with the guarantees and
Yeah.
less in the market. So, but a lot of advisors that you're advising that are advising the people watching this video, they want you to have, if you're 70 years old, they still want you to have an 80, 90% of your money in the market. And it might work, but it might not. So annuities, our planning is designed for the what ifs. And I think there's a happy medium between the two.
Yeah. Otherwise, you know, that running out of money thing that just popped in is a real concern for a lot of people.
Yeah, and that's where annuities, like if you do want to set up a guaranteed lifetime income stream, you can use annuities. No matter how long you live, you're guaranteed to have a payment for the rest of your life. So that's another thing we can talk about too.
Yeah, we've looked at those. Those have really improved a lot in recent really in the last year or so. Again, with the higher interest rates. All right, Wall Street is the biggest black cloud here. We're stock people in the back end, so we don't want to be overly negative on Wall Street. But explain the big black cloud here.
Yeah, it all has to do with time horizon. I mean, I'm in
Yeah,
my, we're both in our 40s, so our time horizon, we have years for, to like what, 2008, 2009, the market was down, I want to say 50%. I mean, like that's a major, so if you had $1 million, you're cut to 500,000. And think about that. If that was the case, just to get back to a million, it's not a 50% return you'd have to get. You have to get 100% return just to get back to break even from 2008. A lot of people, they didn't see their portfolios. I was talking to a lot of them go back to break evens for until 2013, 2014, 2015 even. So that's why, attaching guarantees to a portion of your portfolio makes a lot of sense. But if you have time horizon on your side, if you got 40 years to play with, then yeah, odds are you'll go up, you'll go down. But as you age, you want to put more and more of your assets and less in the market in these fixed investments.
yeah. So Wall Street is a friend and a foe depending on your time horizon,
Yep.
essentially. All right, let's continue on here. Procrastination. I think we
Oh,
all suffer from that one a little bit.
I know it's just action, action, action. The way to accumulate wealth is by taking action. But a lot of people, they don't they do the opposite. They just procrastinate. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. And usually those are the ones who run out of money or don't have the choices that they want in retirement. So if you act now and plan ahead, you'll have choices.
Well, and
And
for a lot of people that are potential annuity buyers, I gotta say their procrastination has paid off because the things have just gotten better than they were if they had started a few years back. So, but we do kind of believe that we're at a possibly at a nexus, and it's anybody's guess, where if interest rates do drop a little bit, it's going to pull back annuity offerings and things. But again, that's getting too far into the
that
weeds.
is true, but you still would probably, if you can put up with the liquidity not being as liquid as the CD, annuities always pay a little bit higher than CDs too, and they're going to be tax deferred versus CDs. You got to pay taxes on them each year. So we'll
Yeah,
get it.
which just filling out the tax forms is annoying. It's like, okay, here's my $200 of interest or $2,000 of interest, whatever it is, plus all that loss. All right, we're going to talk about preservation, distribution, the rule of 100. Now we're getting into that pyramid, the upside down planning.
So yeah, the pyramid that you're looking at is, as you age, you want the percentage, the age you are, you want that percentage in fixed guaranteed assets, such as real estate and trust, fixed annuities. You can put CDs in there, some type of municipal bonds, but you want that to be your base, your foundation. But like what's happened the past 20 years is the fixed rate market has been so little. So a lot of people have been overexposed to the market because who wanted to put their money and get like 1.5% at Bank of America? I mean,
Nobody.
they didn't do it. So the Fed almost forced us to put more of our money than we should have in the market. So
Yep.
this kind of goes over, gives a good visual of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so kind of in the middle, the moderate moderate things, stocks, bonds, and then of course, a lot of people do index funds, which didn't even exist at a very big level when you created this thing, but that's a big investment vehicle these days.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then of
So
course your general equity. Hey, I like my iPhone. I'm going to go buy Apple stock. That's
yeah,
like
and
the
then that would have been
crazy.
a good investment if you had done that in 2008, 2009. That's when. So we're not saying don't do this the stocks, but like just have a more reasonable distribution.
Yep. Yep. So, if you're 50 years old, 50-50, have 50-50 in stable stuff. There's an example for 65-year-old. And I feel sorry for the people who have kind of been in that 50 plus range over the last, 2 years because they've had to take so much risk. I guess it's worked out, but it very easily could have not worked out. Here's our upside down planning.
Yeah. Yeah. And so but this is what a lot of people are doing. Like people who are in their 60s and 70s, they probably have more assets than they're comfortable with in the market. So we're going to show you some ideas where you can still participate in the gains of the market without the downside risk in those equity index annuities. So
Yep. All
but
right,
yeah,
we've covered upside down planning. I'm going to skip that one.
yeah.
All right, we're jumping into taxes. Great topic, always perennial.
Yeah, just like you mentioned, taxes on interest income. So like if your money's in a CD, every year you get the 1099 from the bank, you got to pay taxes on it. Annuities, if it was an annuity, you're still getting that fixed rate if you want a fixed annuity, but you don't have to pay taxes. It's tax deferred vehicle and you're getting interest on top of interest. And the power of compound interest, we'll get into a little bit later, is huge. If you are earning interest on top of interest over 20 years, it'll be tens of thousands of dollars more money in your pocket than you did if you had to pay taxes each year.
Yeah, and I mean a lot of our cohort. I mean, think about like the 529 plans for college. I mean, it's the same
Yeah.
concept with this. All right, tax on capital gains. We covered that. Social Security, estate, taxes on IRA at death. Everything is taxed eventually, but
Yeah.
deferring the taxes is the key here.
Yep.
All right, so we did update. You did last night. You updated this slide because the numbers were like comically low on the 20-year-old
Yeah, I think it was
version of
like
this.
1.5 million 20 years ago. Now they've increased it, but I think it was the Trump tax cut in 2018, 2019. That's when this got bumped up, and that's gonna sunset, I think, in end of 2025, and it's gonna revert back to where the tax exemption. I think it's gonna be a couple $1,000,000. So there's gonna be a lot more people unless Congress extends it, which looks like there's not a whole lot of emphasis to do it. It's going to go back to where even if you're a couple $1,000,000, which is it's not a lot of money anymore because of inflation. $1,000,000 is
Yeah,
not like it was in the 1980s.
yeah,
So you too will still be subject to that state tax. The
yeah. When
death,
the term millionaire was coined, a millionaire was a lot richer than a millionaire is now.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and I mean, with the deficits as huge as they are and the debt, at some point the government's going to go hunting for revenue, and it's things like this estate tax that could definitely be impactful to our clients.
yeah, yeah, and the King, yeah, Elvis. We had to leave this one in there because it's an old, obviously, example, but it just shows like an example of the king of rock and roll, Elvis. He didn't plan very well at all. I mean, obviously, he didn't think he was going to die at that young age, but like the most famous musician of all time. I mean, he got just reamed on. He had debts. He had legal fees. Just the legal fees. Look at that's $2 million on legal fees, and then estate taxes. And so I think there's a slide coming down the pike here that I think his heirs just got. Oh, there we go. The king of rock and roll only left $1,000,000 to his heirs, and
Not even $1,000,000, but back then being a millionaire was better than it is today. But still,
yeah, yeah. But
10% of the estate.
10% of his estate went to his heirs, and it doesn't have to be that way. And we're going to show you ways to prevent that.
Alrighty, I love this old clip art. That's why I was like, we got to do this. We got to
It's kind
do
of
this.
refreshing,
It's kind of funny.
the nostalgia. Yeah,
The nostalgia of it. Yep.
it's kind of like listening to a 1980s radio station.
You were chatting about this earlier, and I went and double checked all the numbers. It took me a second as the non-creator of the slide to wrap my head around it, but basically this is saying if you're the age here on the left, 20, 30, 40, and you put $200,000 into an investment that gets a 9% rate of return, how much money will you have at your average life expectancy, which is like,
Yeah.
what is it, 82?
Maybe there's not a lot of 20-year-olds who have $200,000, but the point being is, for this slide, for what spoke to me on this slide is the longer you defer the money, it's dramatically different. So the difference between just 20 years, putting the money in at age 20 versus age 40 leads to a 6x difference in money when you're 80 years old, because this is the life expectancy is about 80 years old with these. So the point being is the earlier you start, saving and investing, the power of compound interest, getting interest for just 10, 20 extra years over time. I mean, now 7 million, that's a lot of money, but like 40 million is you're rich. That's a big difference. You're
Yeah.
wealthy at 7, but you're rich at 41 million.
Yeah. And the key here is that 9% rate of return. We could move that around, but yeah, I mean, the impact of this is going to be the same. That's that compounding really is huge. And like we were talking about before we made this video, that applies to everything in your life. It applies to brushing your teeth every day. I mean, it's like the more you do little changes, the more improvements you'll see.
Yeah.
All right, back to taxes. So let's talk about the exemptions from taxes that annuities have.
It's just, yeah, like if the money's in the annuity, it's a tax deferred vehicle, and you're not paying federal, you're not paying state, you're not paying Social Security tax, and all the money and all the taxes you would have paid are growing tax deferred. So again, interest on top of interest with no taxes.
And let me actually, the second bullet down, I want to talk about that one for a second, no state tax, because I'm currently in California, won't be here forever.
Yeah.
And we're fortunate enough to have talked to literally tens of thousands of people. A lot of people I know that live in these high tax states, New York, Illinois, California, they're planning on leaving. And so if you can defer those taxes while you're in a high tax state, move to Florida, for example,
Yep.
which a lot of people are doing, number 2 fastest growing state. There's certainly some advantages there to think about on the state side. Because like California, capital gains is regular income. It's 13% at the highest rate. So
yeah, no doubt. Yeah. So if you're in a high tax state, I mean, this would, the power of annuities is even more important.
Yeah. Yep.
For you. Yeah.
All right. On the flip side, you got the triple compounding. Let's go through that here. Oops. Okay. Sorry about that. Haven't done a PowerPoint in a while.
Yeah. If you go to the next one.
Okay.
Yeah. What is triple compounding? You're earning interest on the principal. You're earning interest on the interest. And the third one was, I didn't catch it, but
let's go back. Here we go. I blame the creator.
yeah, if it doesn't work this time, we'll just move on. But the point being is triple compounding. You're earning interest that you would have paid to the state. You're earning interest on money you would have paid to the federal government. And you're earning interest on the dollars not paid in taxes.
Yeah, which we've definitely kind of covered that already. But yeah, it's if you're getting a couple extra points, that's just straight to the bottom line for the next compounding cycle. And again, the taxes. I think this is a problem that is going to get worse as time goes on. All right, let's talk about the lawsuits and probate a little bit.
Yeah.
Sadly, we've both had to deal with this ourselves.
Yeah. So annuities do bypass probate. And if your money's into an annuity and you're getting those annuity payments, it does protect you from lawsuits in a lot of situations. So, it's just another layer that you can kind of add to your portfolio to forget. I know that I'm being repetitive, but for the what ifs in life, odds are things are going to be fine for you and you'll, die in your sleep, holding hands with your wife. But if that doesn't happen, if you do have Alzheimer's or you do, get, in a major car accident. Christopher Reeves, I mean, that's kind of an old school example, but Superman, he fell off a horse when he was probably in his 40s,
Yeah.
broke
That's
his neck.
crazy.
He needed care for 15 years. I think he probably passed away, 10, 15 years ago. But just stuff happens that we, don't anticipate. So it's all about reducing your risk and still planning for the unexpected.
Contestable, that long lost niece, nephew, or whatever comes to knock on the door when probate happens.
Yep.
All right, let's keep on rolling here. So what are we painting here? I got you, the puzzle.
Yeah, you can take this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's just avoiding. I'm just gonna. We kind of just said it. Avoiding all of the issues with
The leeches, all
probate.
the people like trying to grab your money, whether it's the creditors, the probate, the lawyers, the government trying to get your money. So it just kind of gives you another layer of protection.
Yeah, putting the ad in the newspaper. All right, trusts. Yeah, a lot of people should look into trusts, and that's another thing. Again, talking to tens of thousands of people, trust is a good thing to have when it comes to doing all this kind of stuff.
Especially our higher net worth client
Yep.
people.
Yep. Okay, so I got you. We're moving everything
What's
into the
bridge?
trust.
Yeah. So you got the pit, and then with trust you kind of build a bridge to
Oh, it's a
bypass.
money pit. Okay, I was seeing a puzzle. It's a money pit.
Yeah.
Back to Elvis.
Back to Elvis. Yeah, because Elvis didn't have a trust, but imagine if Elvis did have a trust, if he did have, just the proper thing set up. I mean, his heirs wouldn't have gotten, he took a 90%, his heirs took a 90% haircut on his estate.
That was quite avoidable.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So we've discussed we can avoid probate. This is all right. This is like in our core DNA, catastrophic illness, because we do a lot of long-term care stuff.
Yeah, it's just, again, going back to the Christopher Reeve situation. Something could happen to somebody in their early age. Something could happen to me, to Drew. It's needing long-term care, having an injury, accident. It's not relegated for the old. It can happen to younger, but like it's the what ifs. I know I'm like a just a repetitive on that, but catastrophic illnesses could lead to you needing home health care, where you don't need to be in a nursing home, but you need somebody you can't move around the house. You need somebody to make you a sandwich, go food shopping for you. It's a nanny type person, but with today's wages, you probably can't get anybody to stay in your house for less than 75,000 a year.
Yeah.
Where's the money going to come from? And so that's where long-term care insurance, which that's our LTC tree, that's kind of our core competency, but also layer that in with some protection of like an equity index annuity, a fixed annuity, and you can kind of plan for a peaceful retirement that you have control of. So that's
and if you guess wrong and you're healthy, at least you can sleep better at night. I mean,
one
that's
less thing you have to
important.
worry about when your head hits the pillow. You're right.
Yep. I mean, that has value. It's a pretty major value. All right. So we've got our line. And I just have to say, I was just thinking as you're saying it, it's incredibly sad how many people we talk to where, with all the modern food and packaged food and microplastics and stuff, I mean, who knows what the ultimate catalyst is, but like people with early onset dementia, Alzheimer's, we hear these real stories all the time. It's just so sad.
Yeah, it's I read an article. We actually did a blog on it a few years ago. Alzheimer's is type 3 diabetes.
Yeah.
So there's a
Yep.
lot of evidence pointing to your point, Drew, where people are eating these refined, foods, the flours, the sugars, and it accelerates the accumulation of the plaque in the brain.
Yep.
And then you get to diabetes, and next thing you know,
all the cancers. There's like more people getting colon cancer now, young people. It's just all over the place.
yeah.
All right. So yeah. So at some point you go from being healthy to being sick, and it catches people off guard big time. Talk to lots of people.
Yeah.
Dealt with that.
And that's where you start having to spend those assets. You're accumulating the assets. Once your health crosses that the Rubicon, so to speak, then illness kicks in. That's when you have to start needing cash to pay for stuff.
And ultimately, a lot of people end up on that bottom one, not by their own choice, but on Medicaid, which is essentially, people get Medicare and Medicaid confused. Medicaid is for impoverished Americans to not end up on the street. I mean, it's basically, you don't have, other than, homeless and drugged out people and stuff, you don't have grandmas out on the street because Medicaid's covering them. But the quality of care, the choices of care providers is often a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Or
then
they
the
depend on children and relatives. This is where, if you have kids, you can put all the onus on them. What if you don't?
Yeah, I know. It used to be family would take care of family back when we had these smaller communities. Now it's like a lot of kids, there's a good chance your kids don't even live in the same town or maybe even the same state. And it used to be, one person, usually the husband would have the job, the wife stayed home. Now, most households, the husband and wife have to work just to survive. They're not going to have time to take care of you.
Yeah.
And, I know you took care of them and they probably would do if they had to, but a lot of people just don't want to be a burden on their kids.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean,
and that prevents you from being a burden on your kids.
I think you want your kids to be there for emotional support more than the physical reality of long-term care. It gets real physical real fast.
Yeah. Just ask yourself, do you want your kid giving you a sponge bath?
That's it.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, this is going to talk about Medicaid and how, you can.
Yeah, I saw this last year. This is an interesting slide because, a lot of people, they forget that if they're married and something happens, an illness happens, you could leave your spouse with up the creek without a paddle. So it kind of gets into it's all good when your spouse, we both are healthy, but if somebody gets, sick or injured, that's where that Medicaid spin down, which I think the next slide is going to go over.
Yeah, so this is the community spouse is like the legal state term. It's basically like, if my wife, well, I'll pick on myself. If I get sick, go into a nursing home or whatever, my wife is the community spouse and she's allowed to keep certain amounts of assets so that she's not completely high and dry. But the limits are tiny.
Well, yeah, and this is when the spouse is healthy. If you go to the next slide, it's going to go show you what you can keep. It's not a whole lot to get on Medicaid. It's like you have one spouse that's in the nursing home. I mean, you have to, a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to give away my money to my spouse or kids or whatever, but you got to do that 5 years in advance. If not, you have to spend your assets down to zero, which makes sense. Again, to your point, Drew, we have $35 trillion in national debt. Our government doesn't have the money to pay for your long-term care. And so they're making it really hard to gain access to government funds. So,
yeah. And even in the best of times, the amount of bureaucracy around a lot of these programs is mind-boggling. Yeah. And again, we've just seen it so many times with clients. Yeah, so accountable assets, we were kind of saw a preview. So these are the things that are exposed to creditors, including the state Medicaid program.
Well, what's not on that list, Drew?
Starts with annuities. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So annuities do protect you from, if you're getting that annuity payment, that's protected from creditors.
Explain this clip art to me real quick.
I think it's just like, that's a guy that, MasterCard, Visa, they called, hey, we got some debt from this person, call him and try to shake.
He's a debt collector. Okay.
He's a debt collector. Yeah. So.
Gotcha. Okay.
I love how he has he's missing his shoes off.
I didn't understand this one, but I like it. Yeah, all right, we're going to go to, okay, we covered catastrophic illness. Now we're going to hit Wall Street.
This is Wall Street danger, number 5. If we kind of get into this, we're going to kind of go on, Wall Street, it's all fun and games when the market's going up, but when the market does, turn the other way, what are you going to do? What's your plan?
All right, we're going to go into the 5 Wall Street secrets. All right, we saved the best part for this part of the video.
Get into the meat and potatoes of it.
Yep. Lawsuits, creditors, taxes.
Inflation. Yeah. So you got to make sure that, and what's your real rate of return? Because yeah, a lot of people, the next slide is going to go into, are CDs safe? Are the bonds? So this is kind of going over bonds, just kind of an average fixed type return, whether it's CD or bond, the past 15 years. So like if you just take this year, for example, you can probably get 6% on a CD or bond. But if you're paying taxes on it, you're paying a 33% tax when you combine federal and state. Now you're down to 4%. This year, inflation was 3.9, so call it 4. So your real rate of return this year is 0%. Last year was even worse. When inflation was high, you have a negative 1%.
Yeah.
But if you go back to, you go back to like 2021, that was when, if you remember, everybody was getting those 2%, 3% mortgages, interest rates were so low. The fixed market was, if you had money in fixed market, you're losing money. You literally were losing money when you factored in inflation to have your money in there. So this just goes over, like, if you're in a fixed investment, after you pay taxes each year, after you take back out inflation, your real rate of return is pretty minuscule. And so we're going to show you some solutions on how to just get a higher interest and give you a shot to earn interest on your interest, and then hopefully put you in a product that's earning higher than these rates.
Exactly. And then, just kind of looking, this bottom line is, were you in the green as an investor in this products, or were you in the red? We had all these green years in a row. And I think this kind of conditioned a lot of people's thinking to, well, bond funds are not a bad place to be. They seem to do okay. But now we're seeing the reality of when those chickens come home to roost. And that's
even those green years, Drew, I mean, who wants to be getting 0.36% on your money,
I know. They're like, green, but they're not that green. And then you get a couple bad years, it wipes out almost all of it. Yeah, absolutely. And we should point out, these are, just kind of rough estimations.
Yeah.
But the concept there is that over the past 15 years, CDs have lost money for their owners when you net everything out almost half the time. And that's the problem that we decided we wanted to solve. All right, Wall Street secret number 2.
Yeah, we touched on this earlier, but a lot of people have no idea that the power of, like, when you lose money, like, again, this example, you put 100K in, you put it in a mutual fund, and we have another 2008, 2012, 2020, 2022, where the market's down, you lose 20%. Now you're down to 80,000. What percentage do you need to get that next year just to get back to 100,000 to break even? Is it
most
20%?
People are going to say 20%.
But what is it, Drew?
It's 25%.
Yeah. So you got to get 25% return.
Let's look at an even bigger example. Happens all the time. A 40% drop.
This is very similar to 2008. And then we saw that in 2022, where some indexes were down 40%, if not more. So if you're down 40%, what percentage do you got to get back?
Not 40, 66.6.
You got to hit a home run, then some.
Yep. And I mean, you can just see the impact of this. 50%, it's 100%. You got to double your money to get back to where you started. And it's not easy to do in every case.
Yeah, especially when as you age, your time horizon is shrinking. So as you age, it gets harder and harder to recoup the gains. And that kind of goes back to when we had that big sell-off in 2008. I had clients who were 7, 8 years and still not back to where the portfolio was in 2008.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about the NASDAQ in 2022. What happened after the .com crash? NASDAQ took 12 years to even come back to where it started,
Yeah, and also what this isn't even talking about is the psychology of an investor. A lot of times people, they get hit with the 50% and they just take all their money out. So the money's literally not invested to ride it back up, ride the NASDAQ back up. They've taken the money out. So that's also assuming you don't make any irrational decisions, which we all do. And
and if you're older, you can't afford to lose any more money. So it's not even that irrational to be like, okay, I'm done with the market.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't have been in there in the first place with all that money is what we would say.
Yeah. And so this next slide, it kind of gives the power of that slide with some numbers here.
Yeah.
So what we have here is we got 10 years of growth. And look at this. It's actually, it's being aggressive on the examples, but you have a 15% up year, 16, 11, and then you get one down year. Year 4 is down negative 7%, back to 10%, down 4%, plus 17, down 8. So we have 1, 2, 3. We only had 3 negative years out of 10. And
we still only got a 72% gain on years when we had, double digits every single positive year almost.
And imagine like the stress that's causing the up down on that chunk of money, but it doesn't have to be that way. There's fixed annuities right now that you can get 6.25% guaranteed all day for the next 10 years. But in this example, this is just it. If you just take out the negatives and just those 3 negatives, and you just get a 5.6, which a lot of our annuities, a lot of our clients have been getting way higher than that, but just assuming 5.6, look where you're at. So you actually have more money in 10 years, and you didn't put yourself through all those ups and downs.
Yeah. And like you said, that emotional roller coaster is just, there's bigger things to do in retirement than stress about the market being down 17%.
And then if you want to put yourself in an equity index annuity, you got the shot at, the 10+%.
All right, we got the classic 200,000. I think you had to update this because used to be 100,000, but I mean 200 is the new 100.
Yeah, so this is just going over kind of what that slideshow that showed the losses when you do lose money in each year. So like, you're obviously the tax is an issue, but like we just give some examples just from the past 15 years. If you just want to structure a portion of your assets to not go through those ups and downs. So if you're in a product that gave you, when the market was down 40% and you were in a product that gave you a 0% return on that portion of your money, and you avoided that loss, and the next slide coming up is going to show you how we can guarantee you're not going to lose principal in negative years, and you have a shot at earning 8+% percentage in years going forward.
Certainly possible.
That's it just kind of goes over. If you, I think it was, this example was the past, I think it was 2005. So the past 20 years, if you got a 12.5% average return in the up years, and you just had those 3 or 4 negative years, how much money do you have?
Yeah. So, and it's not that impressive over that time period.
So you get 157,000 in 20 years versus what we're going to show you and a few other slides gives you'd have a heck of a lot more money.
All right. Yep. So we're going to look at some hypotheticals here.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say, consult your illustration for any specifics. These are just hypothetical examples.
This is just strictly conceptual. And again, if you want to get a specific hypothetical for your specific state, we're licensed in all 50 states. We'll send you one.
All right. So we've got a couple little screens here. So 200,000 in, 7% on an S&P index annuity, was down those 4 years, but you didn't lose anything. You're at 472.
So remember that same it was 12.5% in the market, and this one was only 7%, but you didn't have the losses those years, and you ended up with more money.
Yep.
So that's the concept.
Same 200 put into a 20-year, 449.
So whether it's a fixed annuity or equity index annuity versus the 357.
Yep.
And you had the stress and give you the heart attack of the ups and downs of the.
That's the biggest. I think that's the biggest issue for a lot of people is, just having to worry about it. It's so many other things to worry about in this world.
I know. Yeah. This definitely should not. You're supposed to be enjoying retirement, so.
All right. Yeah. So you can manage your losses better than the pro. How do you do that? Shockingly. There we go. An equity index annuity. This is back to the 100. I like that you kept the May 2001 quote.
I
Same for the
did
rest.
because I mean this same principle. I've had a lot of clients who've been ecstatic that they've been in these for 20 years because
Yeah,
they
and that's the reason why we were like, we got to do this. Is like
yeah.
what they were saying in May of 2001. Wow, that's interesting timing. That was what, 2 months after the beginning of the .com crash,
Yeah,
something
and then
like that.
before 9/11 too. Yeah.
Yep, yep,
So so yeah, this example, you put in $100,000 and say you get a 13% gain that year. Now, with an equity index annuity, that's what the EIA means. It's locked in. So now 113 is your floor. The next year, you get another up year, roughly 10%. Now you're at 124,000. Now, this year, in year three, we have a down market. So what happens? If it was in a variable investment, it's going to go down.
yep.
But in this one, your 124,000 slides over. So you got a 0% return that year, which is not great, but at least it wasn't down 20%.
No,
And
you're
then,
pretty happy. You've had a lot of happy client calls after a year like that.
yeah, for sure. And then the next year, you have another up market. The 124 is now 137. And then year five, we got another down year. But see, you're at 137, and this, the money's pretty much back where you started. So that's the power of these equity index annuities. Now, the downside of them, they're not as liquid as a stock portfolio. I mean, you can call up your broker and say, hey, sell my Apple shares, and you get out the cash.
Yep.
These, you need to put money in there that you're not going to need to touch for a few years. Now,
Yeah,
you
which
can
is why if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, this is just a piece of my resources. This is going to be
exactly.
my bedrock.
Yep. So yeah, so this slide, just you're 100% guaranteed against losses. So and actually, because interest rates are so high, there's a worst case scenario. I think I just went over with a client this morning. She put in 100K. She was 46 years old. She was like, well, Derek, I'm going to be retiring in 20 years when I'm 65. What's my worst case? In her worst case, if the market, if the index, I think she was in a Fidelity and Morgan Stanley fund, if those were negative every year for 20 years, that $100,000 was still guaranteed to be, I think it was 187,000
Yeah.
in 20
Yeah.
years. So not the end of the world, so it does have a floor. And so built into these contracts, because it's a fixed annuity, the insurance commissioners in each state require them to give you a bare minimum rate of return if the catastrophic happened and your indexes never earned anything for 20 years.
Yeah. And as a consumer, you need to be willing to lock in the money, and you also need to be aware of, and a good advisor like us is going to help you see the fees that are involved. That's there's some of these have fees. You can go feeless. You can add a fee. Some of them let you change your strategy. Those are your major pitfalls. With all this upside and 100% guaranteed against losses, there's just a few things you need to look out for.
Yeah, and those are going to be the fees, which fees are a choice, as you mentioned, and the liquidity. They don't want you taking more than 10% of the account value out per year in the first, 5 to 10 years. After
Yeah,
that, you can call the money out if you want.
yeah, and again, that's annuity specific. We've got one that'll let you do 20% every 2 years. So there's flexibility there. You might not want to take it out every year. All right, our secret number 5. We're going to keep on rolling here. We're getting a little short on time. We got a little bit more time.
Variable annuities. Drew and we don't sell variable annuities. Those are security products. I don't know. I've never been a fan of the variable annuities because it's basically a mutual fund inside an annuity that does it with no downside protection. If the market's down, your account value is going down with it, and you pay usually a point higher than mutual fund fees.
Yeah, so not a lot of the advantages that we've talked about don't apply to variable annuities.
Yeah.
And
if you have a variable annuity, you can roll that you can do a tax-free 1035 exchange into a fixed annuity and not pay the fees.
I think the companies realize this, and that's why they've really improved the fixed annuity market after the variable annuities kind of got a little bit of a some of their baggage started showing up in the market. All right, yeah, and here we go. Some annuities right now offer a minimum of 7% compounded annually.
And that's, for me, that's it's a little bit disingenuous on their part, because a lot of times that's going to be okay, we'll give you 7%, but then at the end of the 10 years, you have to take that 7% as an income. They're not going to give you the lump sum.
Yeah, that's another thing to be on the lookout for with these.
And call us and we'll, whatever you're in, we'll be able to dissect it and just, if it's good, it's good. We'll call it like we see it, but we'll go over these small details that are important that a lot of advisors don't point out to their clients.
Yeah, there's like the headline number here and all, we've put it in green, but there's a big reality that's maybe not quite so good behind the scenes. Quality is king. Quality is king. All right, so let's talk about those guarantees. And we got an income slide here. Okay.
Yeah, this is just kind of just put some numbers with what that, I mean, they have these products that will guarantee you have the contract value, and that's growing to whatever. In this example, this was in a variable annuity. But then you have, if you want to walk away lump sum, it's always the contract value. What is it grown to? But then you have that 7% income side. That's where they're going to pay you that income, but they're not paying you the lump sum. So in my opinion, these have kind of become out of vogue.
Yeah. We won't spend a lot of time on them, but it is something that people should be aware of if they're shopping around. These still are out in the market. There's some that are better than others. And
they're used, that 7% is used as a selling feature to get you to call. So know that, and if you like it, you like it, but at least know how it works. And know that if you have to fall back on that 7% guarantee, you're not getting all your money at once. You can't walk away. It has to be as an income. I don't even know what that is. It's like I can't even, it's like a harvest, like, I don't know, Thanksgiving type. I don't know, but that's fun. Glad you up in there.
Yeah, this is so retro. This almost looks like it's from like the 70s. But it's not that old. All right. So let's get to the content here.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of this. This is sort of summing it up.
Yeah, we'll kind of get into the summing up. The stretch IRA, that there was some mention of that actually, that language, the stretch IRA was limited in, I think it was the Trump tax cuts of 2018. And they reverted to an inherited IRA. It used to be you could stretch your IRA, your kids could stretch it over their lifetime. Now, if they inherit an IRA, they have to receive the money over a 10-year period.
Yeah, that actually hit a good friend of mine. Like he inherited it right as that law hit. It was like, man, he was within days of the stretch IRA days. But yeah, we took all the slides out about the stretch IRA. We forgot to scratch stretch IRA here. Can exchange existing annuities without penalty annuity checkup? That's a good point. People need this. A lot of people have annuities that may not be so great.
Yes, if you bought an annuity within really before 2022, odds are you're in a because again, the lifeblood of these annuities is that fixed Fed funds rate, and you're an annuity that was bought in a low interest rate environment. So the annuities now often some of them will pay you bonuses to get out of your annuity if you still have a surrender charge.
Yeah. So if you're not sure, schedule a time to get an annuity checkup with one of us, and we'll.
Yeah, and we're going to put our calendar. There's a calendar. It's called Calendee in the little comments down here, so you can actually pick a time on our schedule, and we can be happy to talk with you.
Yep, exactly, and we can look at specifically what you got.
And the triple compounding, that is so important. It's interest on top of interest. It's the taxes, and it's the interest that you're earning interest on the money that you would have paid in taxes. So
yeah,
it's just such a huge benefit to get that compound interest on as much money as you can over time.
Yeah, and I think one of the slide headlines said it. The rest of the story. There's a headline number that all the marketing companies are going to somehow get compliance to approve. But the reality is often different than the headline. When you start breaking down things like, does it have the triple compounding? Oh, no, it doesn't. Well, it looks like a great rate, but it's not exactly that great.
Yeah.
$1,000 challenge. What's the $1,000 challenge?
You know what? This is 20 years ago. I think the guy I was doing it with, he was basically trying to get leads at a state, give state getters to give leads. And he wanted to get as many as possible. So everybody that filled in like a lead form, put your essentially your name in a hat, he'd give away $1,000.
Oh, it's a raffle. We're not doing that on this video. We're going to skip that. I think we've tried to take a little bit of the sizzle out and just kind of cover the core facts here. That's sort of our that's been our approach to selling all along, and I think it served us and our clients well.
Yeah, take out the cheesiness of all these tired sales tactics. But in this one's a good. I mean, you get a good, powerful picture of a mountain, and these are just a handful of companies we work with. We work with companies that have been around for 100+ years. And these companies offer a wide variety of fixed annuities and then equity indexed annuities. And our motto is we work for you, not the insurance company. That's what we are with LTC Tree, the long-term care planning. We're brokerage. But it's also with our Annuity Facts website is we work with any company you want. We'll show all these companies to you in a side-by-side spreadsheet and go over the good, the bad, the ugly. We'll show you all these fine details so you can judge for yourself which company looks best for you.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen the order of these companies flip around quite a bit. So I know there's lots of people that are like, okay, just pick any random company out of this list. That's the product I like. And then they don't even pay attention to the rest of the market. We're actually like actively developing software that goes out and does analysis on all these companies in real time every single day. And that's our approach is like, let's find the best deal for each individual client. And it's not always pick your favorite company that sends you on your little summer vacation trip every year,
Yeah. So it's just kind of to put a bow on our conversation for the day. But like in the past quarter of a century, we've really gone from like doing these old school seminars and kind of doing a lot of stuff paper to now, to your point, Drew, we're using AI and artificial intelligence just 25 years later to basically funnel all this confusing information from all these companies down to one digestible source. And that's what we'll send you.
Yep. All right. So we covered the 7 financial dangers. This is the wrap up phase of the video. I think we've done a good job of talking about all of these, at surface level. Some people are exposed more to some of them than others, again, personalized advice. Yeah. Where's your exposure in these 7 financial dangers?
Yeah, I think it's tax. I wrote a big check to the IRS a few weeks ago. So taxes, I mean, it's taxes.
Everybody's got a different one.
And then, I think maybe having a little bit too much money in variable products too, having some guarantees attached. And we're not saying annuities are the answer. I mean, there's other stuff that you can do, like the real estate. And that's been a time tested, proven, which put some money in real estate, just it's a diversified portfolio. If you can get your investments in, I think it was 11, I read this book by this really sharp financial advisor who basically interviewed all the billionaires in the world. And what he funneled it down to was if you can diversify your portfolio in 11 different things, you take your risk down by 80%. And so that included things such like gold, cryptocurrency, stocks, bonds, real estate. There's even funds out there where you can invest in sports teams. You can buy shares in sports teams. So the point being is put your money with a bunch of different things that might be okay in a recession, and that offsets it
reduces your correlated risk. And before people say there's 7 financial dangers and I only see 6, these guys can't count, I got to show the biggest one for a lot of people is procrastination. Just letting everything ride. They know in the back of their mind something's not exactly right with their plan. They may not have the best feeling about some of the advice they've either read online or gotten from others. And so, we want to speak to that. And it's like, there's a lot of reasons why we naturally procrastinate.
Yeah. And so that's the key. If we can just pass one thing on to the people watching this video, we really appreciate your time. If you've come this far, we both have been fortunate enough to enjoy some success over the years. And if I look back on my success, it's really taking action. And we're not saying you contact us and, you do business with us, but at least you take action and learning about it. So action, learn what your options are, and then judge for yourself if you feel like it fits in with you.
Yeah, I mean, we'll help you poke holes in it together. All right, last slide. I'm I'm just going to include this. Oops. Never mind. We are done with these slides.
Yes, you made it through. The people that made it through, thank you very much.
It's got to be at least my mom, although she might have already taken a little nap by now.
She'll be the first like that we get for sure. But yeah,
Yeah.
guys, thanks for visiting. Our Annuity Facts is our annuity site. We have a wealth of information there. We'll go over in detail all the differences of these types of terms and products. And you know, we're easy to get in touch. We have our phone number there.
We're gonna put the Calendly links in there so you can.
Yeah, or go to, if you want to fill out a lead form on our site, go in there, put your information. We can communicate by email, however you want to do it.
Yep. I think this was a fun little walk down memory lane. Let's wrap it up for now, Derek.
Yep. See you guys. Thanks, guys, for watching. See ya.